Welcome back, everyone. Today, we are embarking on a really fascinating quest to uncover the actual mechanics of how we process truths. We go about our daily routines gathering facts, learning new skills, and trusting our gut. But we rarely stop to look at the machinery behind all of that. So let's take out our magnifying glasses and examine the very prism of human knowledge.
Okay, let's dive into this by asking a really simple yet kind of mind-bending question. How do you actually know what you know? Just take a look at the device you're watching this explainer on right now. You know what it is, you know how to use it, you know it's a piece of tech. But how did that information actually get into your brain? Who told you? Did you observe it? Were you taught it? Or did you just figure it out through logic? Well, that's exactly what we're going to map out today.
Section 1. Facets, the diamond of knowledge. So to understand the micro level of epistemology, which, by the way, is just a fancy word for the study of knowledge, we have to realize that knowledge isn't just some flat page of text. It's multi-sided. It's 3D. To understand a subject, we use something called a facet. Literally translated, a facet means a small face. Think of the beautifully cut, angled sides of a diamond. In the realm of knowledge, a facet is just one clear aspect, or part of a subject. When we practice what's called facet analysis, we're basically breaking a complex topic down into these basic concepts so we can describe it fully.
And this brilliantly illustrates how everyday things have multiple faces depending on how we divide them. Take something super simple, like water. If we apply facet analysis to water, we can view it through a chemical facet, looking at it as H2O. We can view it through a physical facet, seeing it as ice, liquid water, or steam. Or we can look at it through a use facet, understanding it by its purpose, like drinking or farming. You need all of these facets to truly, fully know what water is.
Section 2. Local versus universal truths.
Now that we understand how individual pieces of knowledge are structured, let's zoom out a bit to see how our environment shapes our reality. First up, we have local knowledge. This is built by a specific community from its own unique experiences and traditions, and it generally falls into 3 buckets. Common knowledge is what almost everyone around you knows, like cooking rice. Then there's shared knowledge, which belongs to a larger group, like herders tending to livestock. And finally, specialized knowledge, which is held only by highly trained individuals. Think midwives, blacksmiths, or traditional healers. What is absolutely crucial to understand about local knowledge is that it's incredibly dynamic. It shifts and changes as society and the environment change. But compare that to universal knowledge. Universal knowledge is a completely different beast. It never changes. It's timeless, deeply rooted in pure logic and cause and effect, and it remains absolutely true everywhere for everyone without fail. You really don't have to be in a specific culture for universal truths to apply to you. The law of gravity pulls objects down whether you're standing here on Earth or standing up there on the moon. The mathematical truth that 2 + 2 = 4 isn't limited by time or geography, it just is. Understanding this kind of timeless knowledge is what helps us grasp the deeper mechanics of the universe. Actually, according to many historical philosophies, it's even viewed as the key to understanding life after death.
In fact, many traditions argue that universal knowledge carries some pretty profound objectives for humanity. It aims to make us aware of the purpose of our existence, teaching that while material things eventually pass away, our thoughts and energy endure. Ultimately, tapping into this kind of knowledge is meant to help people identify their destiny and live highly conscious lives.
Section 3. From facts to deep wisdom.
Before we get into exactly where we get our truths from, we really need to establish what knowledge actually is at its core. It isn't just a pile of random trivia, it's a 3-step journey. Step 1 is information, your bare facts and raw data. Step 2 is knowledge, which is what happens when you start connecting those bare facts together in a meaningful way. Let's move to step 3 and see how this builds. The ultimate goal is wisdom. This is about transforming that connected knowledge into a deep, profound realization of life.
Section 4. Acquiring knowledge, senses, and science.
So how exactly do we climb that ladder to wisdom? Well, throughout history, we've relied on 7 primary sources of knowledge. Our first 3 sources basically anchor us to the physical world. Source 1 is our senses, seeing that fire is hot or tasting that sugar is sweet. Source 2 is experimentation, checking facts under controlled, repeatable conditions, like verifying that water boils at exactly 100 degrees Celsius in a lab. And source 3 is observation, carefully watching the world so we can explain, predict, and control it, like using a telescope to track the phases of the moon.
Section 5. Acquiring knowledge, mind, and authority.
But we don't just rely on what we can physically touch or measure in a beaker. We also pivot to the metaphysical and the societal. Consider a phenomenon we've probably all experienced: intuition. This is our fourth source. Now, what's really interesting about this is how it captures that sudden gut feeling completely without the use of physical senses or step-by-step logic. The classic example is a mother who gets a sudden inner knowing that her child is in trouble, and later discovers it was entirely true.
Our fifth source is revelation. Across various cultures and epochs, this source is defined as knowledge revealed by a divine power or God. The teachings found in sacred texts like the Vedas, the Quran, or the Bible are prime examples of this. For millions of people across the globe, these scriptures are considered to be revealed universal knowledge, passed down directly from a higher power to humanity.
The sixth source is authority. Think for a second about your own daily reality. How much of what you know simply comes from trusting the experts and authorities around you? When a teacher gives a lesson, when a doctor diagnoses an illness and gives advice, or when a scientist publishes a brand new discovery, we generally accept this as knowledge. We acquire it through the authority of someone we trust has the specialized expertise we don't.
Section 6. The final pillar. Reason.
We've covered senses, science, the mind, the divine, and societal authority. But there is a seventh, incredibly powerful tool: reason. Reason is the use of pure logic to reach a conclusion, and it splits into two distinct logical paths. On one side, we have induction, taking many specific examples to form a broad general rule, basically moving from micro to macro. On the other side is deduction, taking a general, established rule and applying it down to solve a specific case, moving from macro to micro. Let's look at induction in action. Every single morning of your life, you've observed the sun rising in the east. Your ancestors saw the exact same thing. Based on thousands of specific, individual daily observations, human beings used induction to form a universal rule: the sun always rises in the east. We took the specific occurrences and built a general truth from them.
So, the crucial point is how deduction works in reverse. Here, we start with a massive, undeniable general rule: all humans are mortal. Then we introduce a very specific data point: Ram is a human. By applying that broad general rule down to a very specific, undeniable case, our logic dictates an absolute conclusion: Ram is mortal. That is deductive reason in its purest form.
And that brings us to the end of our journey through the facets and sources of truth. From the local traditions right in our backyards to the universal truths that govern the stars, we process so much information every single second of the day. But I want to leave you with a provocative thought to chew on today. Out of the 7 sources we covered: senses, experimentation, observation, intuition, revelation, authority, and reason, which one governs your reality the most? How are you building your wisdom? Think about it. Thank you so much for hanging out and learning with me today.